I was like, guess what? Like, that's not for me. I'm gonna have to create my own path, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so it made me
Well, it's like this
not
imaginary chip
having.
on your shoulder
And
almost.
here's the best part about it: had I actually gotten a job and signed Sean Kingston as an A&R at Epic Records, I would have gotten a point and a gift certificate to Red Lobster.
What drew you to BMG, the corporate world, running North America?
Yeah. So I turned 40 back then, and look, I'm very much one of my biggest fears is I don't want to live life in autopilot.
Yeah.
Like I refuse to do it personally, I refuse to do it professionally. It's just like I don't want, like, life is too short. And at that particular point, look, I was a music attorney for 5 years. I was a manager for I think 5 years, and then I had Beluga Heights for 6 years. So I was just like, I was on, quote unquote, outside of the system for a very, very long time. I just felt like the business was changing a lot. It was really becoming the streaming era.
Yeah.
And I just knew for a fact that unless I wanted to dinosaur out, I needed to be in rooms with people who were trying to figure out where the music business was going and people that were just straight up smarter than me. So, I sat with all the majors. And it's so interesting. I'll drop this little tidbit in here because it's a bit personal, but I think it's also, there's a lesson in it.
Please.
So, when I was a music attorney, I was an attorney. That felt like that was the journey. When I became a manager, and I was kind of just, really starting to look at myself as kind of a citizen of the creative world, right, in the music industry, everybody around me was getting jobs. This guy was getting a VP job over at this label. This one was getting a VP job at this publishing company. To be honest with you, there was a bit of time there that I felt like that kid on the playground where they were picking teams for the basketball team, and it's like, I'm going to pick you.
Yeah.
And to be honest, for that time, there was a time when I was actually in my feelings. Where I was like, damn, like I'm the ugly duckling. I'm like nobody wants me.
Right.
I'm like, what, I'm like, I'm doing shit, like I'm making moves, I'm creating visible value. And it's so funny that when I finally decided that I actually wanted a job, and and this was after Beluga Heights when we've had the success, I wasn't coming in off the street. We had JVs with all of these companies that I was going to potentially take a job at. I remember hiring a lawyer, set me up meetings with every single one of those heads of every one of those music corporations, Sony, Warner, Universal, and BMG. And I remember every single meeting went like this: what are you doing here? Well, what do you mean? You want a job? We never even thought you were hireable.
Right. And this whole time you're thinking.
This whole time, I'm like, I'm the most worthless. I'm the ugly duckling. Nobody wants me. By the way, don't get me wrong. In thinking that, I didn't lay down and crawl into a ball.
Yeah.
I was like, guess what? Like, that's not for me. I'm gonna have to create my own path. Right?
Yeah.
So it made me.
Well, it's like this imaginary chip on your shoulder almost.
And here's the best part about it. Had I actually gotten a job and signed Sean Kingston as an A&R at Epic Records, I would have gotten a point and a gift certificate to Red Lobster.
Yeah.
Instead, that those kinds of successes put kids through schools and buy houses, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So when I finally decided to explore the corporate world, it gave me a lot of clarity on the way I was viewing myself versus the way I was being viewed, which frankly gave me a bit of relief, and kind of eased my tension within myself. Those
conversations with those.
That like, okay, like this, I wasn't really, it wasn't that I wasn't eligible. People just thought that I was an entrepreneur and an independent and just going that route. Against the advice of all of my friends, I joined a company called BMG. BMG at that point was 2 years back in business.
Yeah.
Everybody was like,
why? Yeah.
Why there? Like those guys, yeah, they got a shit ton of money. It's a $35 billion family, but they're spending money like drunk sailors. There's no direction, no culture. Nobody wants to sign there. Like, you got other options. Because I had other options. People are like, why are you going to go there?
Yeah.
And to me, it was really, really simple. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm used to waking up in the morning with nothing, and I better create something of value. Otherwise, my family doesn't get to eat dinner that night.
By the end of the day.
Here's this opportunity where it's like they are wildly resourced and frankly need direction. So to me, that was the opportunity of, like, for an entrepreneur, those kinds of rooms, those kinds of environments, shit, I run towards those.
Yeah.
Right? So for me, BMG was just a no-brainer. And I joined there as a senior creative guy on the publishing end. We didn't even have records back then. And yeah, just in a matter of 2.5.
Wait, there was no records over there?
No,
on
at
the
that
publishing
point,
side? It was zero, like,
we only had publishing. BMG was purely a publishing company when I joined.
yeah.
So I joined as a senior creative executive on the publishing end, and then in a matter of 2.5 years, 2.5, 3 years, worked my way up to becoming the head of that company, North America. And I built out records. A team of us built out records. That was kind of like part of the new remit to be
Yeah.
able to build out records, which we did. And look, to me, BMG was really my PhD, as I like to call it, not only in running a music company, but in leading a big business. 500-person team responsible for a multi-$100 million revenue line. And, it really gave me the experience and the confidence to be able to
Yeah.
go and run and lead real companies.
I mean, yeah, there was a very, like I said, when I first met you, I mean, it's just like, it was bustling in there. It was like,
Yeah.
there was so much going on over there. And I met Jeremiah earlier
Yeah.
than, before meeting you.
Yeah.
But you had, I remember, it was like a rock star team. You had Jeremiah,
Yeah,
you had Shani.
Yeah, she was
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah. You had amazing team. There was just
It's
a
all
lot
about the
going
people,
on.
bro. It's that really simple. It's like you have a room. You want to bring different energy into the room. Just bring different
It was
people.
nothing, like, sure, it's like on Wilshire over there. Was it
Yeah,
on
yeah, it was
Wilshire?
on
Yeah,
Wilshire,
it's just
yeah.
like the corporate building
Yeah,
over there. It's like
yeah.
at the top floor, and
Yeah.
it's just like, oh, this is like the music business on the
Yeah.
corporate level. But nothing about it felt corporate.
Yeah,
Like, I'm sure she'll be fine with me saying this, Jesse,
Yeah.
but like, she was like the uncourtable. Like,
Totally.
you couldn't court that. Like, but it was a year that you guys spent courting her,
we did.
trying to get it. You flew her to Sweden.
Yeah.
And I remember having a conversation. I think it was with you or Jemiah. It was
Yeah.
just like, so you're gonna fly her to Sweden? Yes. She's not one of your writers. Correct. If we do a deal with you, are you gonna bill us back for that? No. Okay.
Yeah, we were willing to
Okay.
invest. We wanted to step out for you guys because we thought
Yeah.
you guys were those one of ones, and you were, and that's what you do.
Yeah.
When you want to show people who you are
Yeah.
and how much you value them, you just got to go above and beyond.
There's nothing corporate about that though. It's just the human level.
I think
of
that's
it.
just human.
Yeah.
I don't know what you call it. That's just showing your intention and being willing to invest into the relationship.
And at that time, you were the head of publishing over there.
At that time, I think I was already head of North America.
You already head of North America.
I think
then
so.
you were also. Then you became the head of like the record label side as
Yeah,
well.
well, North America, when I became the head of North America, that was everything.
That was
record
everything.
publishing, everything we did. We did documentaries and like the whole thing. So
Yeah. I saw the illest plaque I ever seen in my life was in your studio, man. It's that 50-cent diamond plaque
Yeah,
with
that
all
was
the
an
countries.
incredible
Oh my
plaque.
God, that plaque is
yeah,
incredible.
it's the best.
So you spent some time there. Why
Yeah.
did you decide to step away?
Yeah, because I just, to be honest with you, I spent 20 years by that point. By the time that was done, the 7 years, like I literally like had worn almost every hat that you could in the quote unquote talent and content part of the music industry.
Incredibly well-rounded, man.
Right.
Yeah.
And then to me at that point, it was like, and by the way, at that point, I still completely believed that I was going to be a music executive for the rest of my life. Right. Like, so to me, I was like, okay, shit, like, what else can I do on this thing that's going to allow me to be out of my comfort zone and to become more valuable, to become a more valuable, citizen of this industry, of this land, right, so to speak. And Scooter was a friend for a long time.
And
Yeah,
not to
Please.
interrupt you, but to
Please.
be clear, like when you stepped away
yeah,
at that time, it's happening more now with executives stepping away. But I
Yeah.
mean, it was all like the restructuring at the major labels. But like this was very unprecedented at that time for somebody to have that job and say, I don't want to do this now. I want to go and start something else brand new.
correct.
So, like that's not regular.
Yeah,
It wasn't regular at that time.
yeah. Well, it's still not
It's still
regular
not
because those are
regular.
very, very hard jobs to get.
Yeah.
Right. So, but to me, fortunately, I've had enough success prior to even joining BMG
Yeah.
to where I had the flexibility to not be led by the paycheck.
Yeah.
Right. So for me, it was like, okay, I'm blessed in that type of way based on what I've built, as an entrepreneur in the music industry. I've had this incredible experience here where I feel like I've been able to, scale impact
Yeah.
for creators, right? And I wanted to be more. I wanted to learn more. To be honest with you, I go back to the same place, and to me, it was just like, what can I do next? And I remember, Scooter was always a friend that, we'd have dinner once a year and just be like, one day we're gonna go do something, like almost jokingly.
Yeah.
And when I stepped out of BMG, we sat and he's just like, "You left that job?" I'm like, "Yeah." And we started talking about like what the industry needs, which is a conversation that I think most people who care about the industry have. And it was really about like, how do we innovate the value prop? Like, what do people need? What do creators need? How can music companies be more valuable to creators? And you know um you know co-founded with Scooter and Shara Senderoff, who you had on here, was a great friend and partner,
Yeah.
raised in space. And for 3 years, I literally went on this mission. I put on like a lab coat and went on this mission to really dissect and understand the music industry through the lens of innovation. Like, where can technology, specifically platforms and tools, help the music industry break its ceiling, right? So I went from being a guy who, for the longest time, was trying to figure out who's going to be the next Travis Scott or Rihanna or Bruno Mars, to now at Race in Space trying to figure out who is going to be the next SoundCloud or Spotify or
Right.
TikTok or Snapchat,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And to me, being able to look at this industry through the eyes of, we looked at 2,000 companies through 2,000 founders who had this idea that the music industry could be better in this way or this way or this way. So the companies we were looking at were trying to innovate the music industry all along the value chain, and everything from the way we discover talent to the tools we give them, rights management, payment
Mechanicals.
solutions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, live
Kinds of
entertainment,
shit.
virtual entertainment, ad tech, blockchain, AI, the whole thing. And being able to look at my beloved industry through this lens was really, really, really just mind blowing and super, super interesting, and just really, really opened my eyes. By the way, all of that was happening, or a lot of that was happening during COVID, and this was when the music industry was like, "Hey,
Right.
our planes, quote unquote, are grounded. Like, people aren't moving around.
Mm-hmm.
So like, what can we do to keep our artists and our talent inspired and in motion
Mm-hmm.
and feeding their fans and making money?" So the conversations that we were bringing to the music industry around these platforms could not have been more timely, because all of a sudden here comes a platform that allows you to be able to live stream from your house,
Right.
right? We saw the cameos pop up, right? So it was really a really, really interesting time.